Hi, hello, this is Laura from Healing with Spirit. So I wrote a lot of notes. My pen just wouldn't stop writing when things started channeling for me regarding this video that we're doing, Facebook Live, on the whole Mercury thingy, the Mars going direct today, Friday the 13th, what that all means. The number 13 symbolically, as this was the card for today, and it also has the number 13 up here. So the 13 is playing a role for today. The cosmic ray health alerts, the space weather, what it all means, and how to really kind of close out strong over the next several weeks for 2020. So we end 2020 strong and that we begin 2021 strong. And I just had a beautiful conversation with a friend of mine who works with African energies. And it was interesting. They were saying to me that 2021 is water energy, and it's important that if you do not, I think I want to see if I can remember, that if we do not stay grounded and rooted into the earth energy, which we really haven't been doing that well this year, and to be more community oriented, that when we hit next year with the water cycle, that water tends to cycle back, meaning that it will also cycle back all that dirty water and filter that we didn't deal with. Okay, so it's about reconciliation and unity, but it's important to really close out this year strong. So this is what I wanted to share, that I wanted to, I knew it was going to be too long for this morning's video. So let's just start with Mercury retrograde. Okay, Mercury went direct on November 3rd, the day of the election. We are still in, I call it the shadow aspect, until November 19th. I don't do astrology, but I'm bridging some of this in for you to understand. So astrology is not my strong suit. I understand cosmic energy, space weather, and just energies in general. So versus astrology, two different ball games, okay? But Mercury kicked off retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio, if you know anything about Scorpio, right? You think of like its intensity, you think it's ruling extremes. It also was kicking in that aspect of what we hold deep within ourself, our shadows, our demons, our darkness, okay? I can say we have been watching this play out, have we not? Okay. We have been forced to face our darker aspects of ourselves, our lives, and face our own inner demons. So this is about bringing something out from the depths of our, as you've been hearing me say, it's about digging deep into the depths of our own shadows, into our own darkness. And it's about going there, right? It's about going there. It's addressing the things that we want to stay buried, okay? So for me, like one of the things I learned was I learned more about my own family history and, really kind of reconciliation, right? And being okay with that. Guess what? I had a very dysfunctional, unhealthy family with concerns like, am I going to be judged because I don't come from a certain type of family? Are people not going to like me because I come from a certain type of family? Are people not going to follow me because I come from that kind of family? Are people not going to see my worth? Because this is what society dictates, right? Like, oh, well, you got to be friends with so and so because their daddy is CEO of this company and they live in this type of house and blah, 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 blah. Stop. This is what we're dismantling, right? So the truth is this, okay? My mom is in end of life. She had serious trauma growing up, and we had a recent discovery about some aspects of that. Like my relationship with my mom growing up was great as a little kid until I hit about puberty. Sorry, and then somehow started into very emotional and verbal abuse that I never really kind of addressed because she was also a victim of domestic violence as well. So, but now I realize that this truth can't be ignored. Um, I don't know what it's like to have a healthy mother daughter relationship. So, what I guess has been surfacing for me is, am I like her? Am I not supposed to have these children? Is this why I lost my kids to an abuser? Is this why I experienced systemic oppression, right? And my dad's also facing some end of life stuff, post COVID heart health issues, heart attack. And this week, actually, the past couple of days, I actually worried whether or not he was going to die. He built up this systemic fluid, and we get along great when it comes to healthcare, and we're very similar like that. We share a similar relationship to land, trees, and plants, but at the same time, we're very distant. We don't have a connection outside of those two aspects. He is a good provider, but his way is usually the highway, and he has some unhealthy, toxic beliefs. And I have some firm boundaries that he doesn't understand. So this is some shadowy stuff that is very strong that have been understanding just in my own life, and I'm curious to know what shows up in your life, right? And so these shadows can appear as multiple things: a health crisis. So this can be like COVID, cardiac, autoimmune, mental health, trauma, like whether it's your trauma, whether it's generational trauma, whether it's a past life trauma or a karmic thing that's coming up. Triggers are surfacing very heavily. Now, these tend to have gotten amplified this week. We've got several aspects that have amplified this. We have the cosmic energy with the cosmic ray health alert that amplified this. We're bringing all those solar rays, with also with the sun starting to power back up, entering a new solar cycle. So the sun's waking up, and then we amplify that with Mars now going direct today. Okay, so you've got all these like stacking, like not just one thing, but it's one thing on top of another, on top of another. And then what happens, each one amplifies each other, right? So for those who are struggling even with the space weather things, you're going to want to check out the Rooted and Resilient Empath that begins in sometime in January 2021. It's 16 weeks, probably go every other week. It's 8 units. And so when we add the amplification of the whole Mars now retrograde, okay, so we add that whole aspect. So we go back to this whole Mercury retrograde. You want to think of what has happened. So I want you, because right now it's a good time to reflect, renew, review. This weekend's going to be a good time to do all this. But when we look in part of reflection, I want you to think power and control, okay? Now, when we think of power control, what comes to mind? We think of the election, right? And if you're not sure, go check out my energy forecast for the election that I posted on my website. So far to date, it is on point, okay? There is pushback when we think of power control against anyone trying to control us. Now, again, that's stuff that we have been seeing playing out, have we not? I've even seen domestic violence victims, because of their triggers, actually do things that were very unhealthy and align with certain abusers. And that's not helping you, okay? That's not a dealing with your shadows. That's actually running away from them, okay? So if it's coming from a place of a wound or an unhealed place, that pushback is also toxic too. So, because this is what we're witnessing, right? So this is a time now, the power and control aspect. This is the time to actually find our own personal power. The timing of this can't be better. This is what we've been talking about in our Facebook Lives 3 times a week, almost consistently, every day. Somehow this has been coming up as a recurring theme over and over and over since we've been doing these lives in March. So the timing of the power of the word, the power of the pause, and the power of processing that begins November 17th, this Tuesday, can't be any better. So if you're struggling with a lot of these energies, this is a time to really hop on board with this. The timing could not be better. The timing is now. It starts at $14.99, and you'll be able to getting access to tools, breakthroughs, your access to your power using time-tested experientials, probably from all the money I have invested and wasted over the years, just in the past 10 years alone, probably close to $1 million, okay? That I'm giving you these gifts starting at $14.99. And if you're watching this now, then maybe you should really consider. There is a sliding scale, and you may want to look at the announcement I did in this morning's Facebook Live video where I'm offering 3 scholarships. There's requirements. So you're going to want to check out today's Facebook Live on Friday, the 13th, November 13th, 2020, today's Facebook Live to get that announcement on how to qualify for those scholarship offerings. So with this Mercury retrograde, what I want you to think is we're still in the shadowy aspect. You want to think of transformation. This is an excellent use of energy to transform, but you want to be smart about it, right? Because we talked about some of those things when we're not being smart about it. You're going to want to know which transformations you're going to want to make. You're going to want to avoid impulsivity. And again, if you're not sure, those 3 power classes are going to help you to uncover what is unseen that you need to see and hear to take back your power. Okay. So now we add this Mars aspect in Aries. Mars apparently is the ruler of Scorpio, according to the astrologers again. So an Aries opposes this whole Libra thing that Mercury ended in. So this is why we've been seeing a lot of problems. Have we been seeing in the past 2 weeks the amplification? So both have been feeling each other, right? It's like 2 heads butting up against each other. Talk about adding kerosene to already a raging fire, all right? So this is where people's unchecked rage, unchecked aspects and fears and triggers have really, I can't tell you how many people I have snoozed, unfriended, and blocked just in the past 2 weeks because they are just not, their lives are being ruled by their shadow, not the healed components. It's all being ruled by the dark aspects of themselves that is unchecked, unhealed, and undealt with. Okay, so it's important. So with Mercury now, we add this back in. When it ended, this is the time right now. This is the period that we're supposed to be looking into justice and fairness. So this is a good omen for those that are uncertain, especially when we're looking at social justice aspects, okay? So the shadow phase that we're in right now, this means that things are still unfolding. It means that continue to fight for that social justice, whether it's systemic oppression, environmental, domestic violence, racial injustice, okay, health equality, whatever it is that social justice thing is, this is not a time to rest. This is a time to actually keep continuing that fight, okay? Again, it's about community, right? It's a time to harness this energy for the better future for all of us. So now when we look at Mars, it's stationed direct today on Friday the 13th of November. The universe, we got to remember, is constantly communicating with us, okay? And please chime in the comments. Let me know whether or not you're understanding this or not understanding this, or if you've got questions, and please post in the comments. So the question is, if the universe is constantly showing us things, whether giving us signs or giving us information, right? The question is, are we listening, or are we too busy with the egoic mind going ba 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 ba, oh, and ba 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 ba, oh, and ba 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 ba? Are we flapping out the mouth and not stopping and actually listening? Okay? Or are we listening to the external sources, the propaganda, the bullshit, right? So November in general, we look at November in general. This is like, I like to look at the month of November as like the climax of that novel, the climax of that story, all right? This is the pivotal moment to do the hard stuff. Again, if you're struggling, then I highly suggest for less than $50, you get these 3 classes that are probably going to change your life, okay? I promise you. So now, since September, Mars has fueled this whole, we've seen this, right? Has been fueling this whole repressed rage, the anger, this low energy vibration, these low energy levels, and the collective struggles. And it has got pretty freaking exhausting, right? And I know that with it going direct today, I've already felt the shift in the past like 12 to 24 hours, okay? So now, if you've been unmotivated, things are going to change. Like I already noticed, and just in myself, things have already changed in the past 24 hours. I've gotten more motivated, more energy to do things and to get simple tasks, like organize my herbals that I ordered like 3 months ago, actually in a system and organized well, right? So the energies should begin to reinvigorate if you're not already feeling it, right? So like I said, I did this yesterday. I organized my herbs, I straightened up my bedroom and set up a new date for the radio show. I worked on my book, so I put it one step closer to publication in the spring. I put things in place, everything I put into place to kick off 2021 on a strong note. So this is what you want to be using these energies for is how are you aligning things, either clearing out the clutter or aligning things into your goals to line up 2021 on a strong note. This is a time to reignite these goals. So be careful that you're not too headstrong, that you're too stubborn, or even that if you're overly aggressive because you're not paying attention to the cues, right? So now let's just go to the number 13 aspect, right? Here's an interesting thing because I'm not going to go into the superstition, except for one thing. For centuries, Friday the 13th was considered a day of the goddess. This was a day to actually celebrate the divine feminine, those sacred cycles, the death and birth, the endings and the beginning, the celebration of this soul energy that vibrates within us, okay? So how did it turn into this superstitious ideology? I'm not going to go into all the superstitions because to me, I think it's pointless and it's very patriarchal. And it comes from old white men in religious robes, to put it simply put. And that's the energy that is shifting back into how us as women, or those who identify as women, to change those energies, okay? So Friday, October 13th, the year 1307, King Philip IV of France executed the Knights Templar on the 13th, the Friday the 13th. So again, the Knights Templar were supposed to be going against evil and all these other things. So he executed the Knights Templar, saying they were doing things unlawfully. That is supposed to be the root to where all this superstition comes from. What I believe is that just as history has dictated, women were in a position of power. Women were sovereign beings. Women were seen as healers, as midwives, as empowered beings. And the white patriarchal religious extremists didn't like us. They couldn't control us. So they made it a bad thing. Okay? So when we look at the number 13, we look at actually the death card. And please chime in and let me know, because I'm not seeing comments, so I want to make sure that that is operating effectively today. So that's the 13th. We're going to go into the death card shortly, but I wanted to show you that's the death card in tarot for those who know tarot. So in numerology, we want to think of the number 13. We want to think of pragmatism. We want to think of building solid, secure foundations. So words that come to mind are going to be focus, building a secure foundation, practicality, creative self-expression. So remember we talked about goals. Remember how we talked about goals with Mercury and Mars? So this is practical goals. So this isn't like, oh, well, someday I'm going to start a business and it's going to be all foo-foo-y and no. This is not the right time for that. This is practical goals. This is like things that we are doing already that are already set in motion, okay? Like I've been writing this book. It's taken me 10 years to finally publish it. So it's like completing these goals, okay? It's like, what do you have to do? You have these goals that you started out, maybe there's a pause. It's completing these goals. Maybe you need to declutter your home to make an office space, right? So it's the things that you can do now, that you can accomplish now with these little goals, right? It's building a solid foundation for a secure future. And it's to pursue it without interference. So the 2020, I correlate to like the tarot card in tarot, okay? So when I think of the Tower card, you think of like up leveling, expect the unexpected, massive change, destruction, chaos, health issues. Well, hello, didn't we just go over that? Right? It's for numerology. I wrote all about it on my blog. I'm not going to rehash it. Go check it out. I have plenty of stuff. 2 blogs in January and another one on 4/4 that talks about the 4-year in numerology being a work year. It's about leveling up, letting the spirit and soul being an equal power to the ego. the yin energy being equal to the yang energy, the masculine being equal to the feminine, or the receptive versus the penetrative, okay? So now we go back to the death card, right? Number 13. This is probably the most feared and most misunderstood cards. We're actually going into a period of death seasonally, right? This is what the fall is supposed to symbolize, right? The death and the dying, so we can plant the seeds for the spring, right? So it symbolizes the end of a major phase. To close, we have to close one door in order to open another. So if you continue to open that old door, hello, Houston, that is where the problem is. Okay, this is where we need to put the past behind us. Close that door that wants to close. Stop trying to open up the doors that want to close. Close it. And if you don't know how, and if you're struggling with this, again, you're going to want to take, I know it seems very simplistic in the titles, the power of the word, the power of the pause, and the power of processing. I promise you, this is 15 years. I can't tell you how the timing is. These classes are needed more than ever. If you're stuck on this aspect, these 3 classes are going to help you get unstuck. And it's not just a bullshit sales speech, because I'm walking this truth. I am just not preaching it. I am walking it, and I'm going to show you how, so you don't have to spend 15 years like I have and over $1 million, okay, of getting there. All right, I'm at it's $14.99 minimum is what is the sliding scale up to 44. Okay, so for less than $50, you can have these gifts given to you to show you how to close out 2020 strong. The death card is about transition. It's about change. It's about clearing away all these limiting factors. And how is it misunderstood? It is misunderstood because look at what 2020 has proved so far. And we have been caught up in this path of sweeping change. There's so many that still can't escape this chaos and the effects of this chaos, right? The upheaval that is unwanted or painful. I'm seeing so many in the spiritual community that are being bullies but call themselves healers. Like, the shadows are so deep. You cannot put your hands on somebody if you're lashing out this toxic positivity and this shadowy shit, okay? It's not going to help you in 2021, especially my friend who comes from this other lineage who was talking about the water energy. It was fascinating, and how he said, like, if you're not doing the work and you're not staying grounded, you're not working on that shadow aspect, you might find 2021 being very difficult. So if you want to be that solid oak tree that can withstand any storm and take it effortlessly. So in knowing how to navigate these waters, it's about unity. It's not about you. It's not about what's in it for me. Poor woe is me. But yet we have to work on our stuff in order to help the collective. You understand how all that works? Got it? So the change can bring a whole series of unexpected surprises and opportunities. This is about how are you setting up your energy field for 2021. This is a sign to let go of what's unhealthy, let go of the attachments, to purge maybe old belongings, to break old habits, to maybe break old behaviors, etc. Okay, compound this with all the space weather we've had this week. That's just like, again, adding kerosene to the fire. Okay, and not all things are exclusive. One affects the other. This is why sometimes it gets compounded, right? This is weaving of layers upon layers upon layers. We add the trauma component, we add the unhealed components, the shadowy components, and this is why we got this big mushroom cloud that wants to go boom, or volcano wants to go boom. How we diffuse it is by working on the darkness. We work on how well we're solidifying our roots, how well we're weaving there, right? And this is what I've learned, and this is the key thing I'm going to have you take away. This is what I've learned, and I'm hoping that you take this away with these energies that have been showing up here. Heal the damn trauma cores, okay? We have been a culture, and it's not your fault. We have been a culture that we even elect presidents that gaslight the fuck out of us, and we think it's okay, okay? We have normalized and we have ignored a lot of our trauma cores, okay? We just go, oh, well, but, whatever. No, we got to face our shadows. We got to face our darkness. These storms can't harm us like they are now if we do that work. Again, think of that solid oak tree. If a hurricane comes, how firmly rooted are your roots with your oak tree? right? Or are you going to snap like a pine tree that's not quite strong, or a maple that's surface rooted, that hasn't gone deep enough into the belly of the shadows and the darkness, right? So if there's nothing there, one of my teachers said, is that if there's nothing there, if we worked on our stuff, kind of like clogged pipes, you don't call in a plumber because your water's running fluid. Clearly, you call in a plumber because your pipes are clogged. Well, if your pipes are clogged with old karmic junk and old traumas and chronic illness and disease, then you're going to get more shit that's going to smack you next year. So it's about how well are we cleaning that stuff. And you can say, but I still have a lot to do. That's okay. As long as you're working on it, you're going to be okay. I promise you. But if there's nothing inside to attach, then that shit, those storm just goes right through you. It doesn't attach. It blows right by, and you're still in your power and you're unstoppable. It's about how are you accessing your power now, not what society dictates to you. So if you're saying to yourself, I just want you, because this is what I was hearing, I wrote these things down. I don't know how. I've tried and I can't. I'm trying to let go, but nothing I'm doing is working. I'm constantly getting sick and I don't know how. I don't want to repeat the past. I don't want my legacy to be the same as my parents. I want to do better. I want to be better. If you're saying yes, if you're saying yes to any of those questions right now, then those three classes, the power of the word, the power of the pause, the power of processing, you need to be in there. For $14.99 minimum per class, you can't. You're getting not only the class teachings, but you're getting the experientials. So you're going to get results each day that you're in there. You're going to get the meditations, the worksheets to all take with you. There's a lot to give you in these in a very short mini masterclass, okay? Because these dark forces are just labels, okay? They're labels. So it's interesting talking to my friend before I got on here, and he was talking about, even tree energy takes in the water energy. If next year is supposed to be water energy, then it's about reconciliation and unity. Again, thinking community. But you can't be in community if you're still dealing with erratic stuff within self. You have to show up in community strong and anchored. Okay? It's about staying rooted, staying grounded. It's to call in to be more in community. This is why I do the Facebook Lives Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days a week. This isn't for my health because I do this shit on my own every day. I'm doing this to help build a community for you. And so we can show up together because I do understand the power. We show up together, we move shit much more effectively. Okay? So this is important, and I'm hoping that this helps you navigate the end of 2020 and how to go out strong. And it's about standing in your power. And if you're not sure how to access that, then I highly encourage you to take those classes. I can post the link if you want in the comments. All right. Have a great day, everybody. All right. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. See you Monday, if not sooner.